Question 1. In light of recent developments, Maria is optimizing a batch process in application engine that processes millions of records. The current implementation uses a loop to fetch and process each record individually. What should Maria do to improve performance without altering business logic? A. Replace row by row logic with set-based SQL operations. B. Move the logic to PeopleCode inside a single do when action. C. Use multiple do select loops for parallel execution. D. Introduce a temporary table for all intermediate storage. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Set-based SQL operations minimize context switching between SQL and PeopleCode, making them significantly faster for large datasets than row-by-row processing. Moving all logic into PeopleCode still executes row-by-row and will not optimize DB performance. Multiple do-select loops risk redundant data reads and can degrade performance. A temporary table can help in certain cases. Without set-based logic, processing will still be slow. Question 2. Under the assumption that an application engine program must pass complex values between multiple sections, what is the most maintainable and restart-safe method for doing so? A. Store values in static variables within PeopleCode. B. Use a dedicated state record. C. Write values to a file and read in each section. D. Pass values using bind variables in SQL statements. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. State records persist data between sections and steps, enabling restartability and maintaining scope for the entire program run. Static variables in PeopleCode lose values after commits. Using files for intra-program data passing is overkill and slows execution. Bind variables are transient to each SQL execution and cannot store complex inter-step state data for restarts. Question 3. When analyzing an integration broker message that fails intermittently, you discover that the receiving system processes requests in strict sequence. Which configuration minimizes risk of message order disruption? A. Use asynchronous messaging with guaranteed delivery. B. Implement synchronous messaging. C. Use asynchronous messaging with message sequencing enabled. D. Enable multiple parallel routings for higher throughput. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Asynchronous with sequencing ensures messages arrive in the intended order without blocking future messages when a single transaction stalls. Pure synchronous messaging guarantees order but blocks processing and may cause timeouts. Asynchronous with guaranteed delivery does not ensure order. Multiple parallel routings maximize throughput but increase the risk of out-of-order delivery. Question 4. Given the circumstances, John configures an application engine program with a doSelect action that performs updates within the sim SQL. He notices missing rows after restart. What is the most likely cause? A. The doSelect uses the select fetch option incorrectly. B. The program is not marked restartable. C. The commit frequency is too low. D. The doSelect fetches and updates in the same cursor. Answer. Correct answer. D. Explanation. Updating within the same cursor as a fetch in doSelect causes the fetch result set to shift, leading to skipped rows, especially after restart. Select fetch misuse can cause inefficiency, but not necessarily missing rows. Restartability settings affect recovery, but not cursor behavior. Commit frequency affects transaction safety, but not the fetch update logic flaw. Question 5. Based on the information an integration developer needs to expose a PeopleSoft component interface as a service to an external vendor, which approach ensures platform-agnostic consumption while preserving PeopleSoft security? A. Publish the component interfaces as synchronous web service. B. Export the component interfaces a flat file. C. Use a PeopleCode app engine program to manually serialize data. D. Provide direct SQL access to the component tables. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Exposing as a synchronous web service allows external systems to consume functionality through standardized protocols like SOAP or REST while applying PeopleSoft security. Flat files lack real-time integration and require manual scheduling. Manual PeopleCode serialization is error-prone and difficult to maintain. Direct SQL access bypasses security, business rules, and risks data integrity. Question 6. While examining an application engine program that must handle dynamic SQL with variable table names, which technique maintains code clarity and prevents SQL injection risks? A. Embed the table name directly from user input. B. Use meta-SQL constructs with bind variables. C. Concatenate the table name into the SQL string inside PeopleCode. D. Pass the table name via a state record field and validate before use. Answer. Correct answer, D. Explanation. Storing the table name in a validated state record field allows dynamic substitution while applying strict validation rules, minimizing SQL injection risks. Embedding directly from user input is dangerous. MetaSQL with bind variables cannot substitute table names. Concatenating directly in PeopleCode still poses injection and maintainability risks without proper validation. Question 7. When faced with a requirement to retry failed integration broker messages automatically, what configuration approach is most effective without risking duplicate processing? A. Enable message reprocessing with duplicate detection. B. Increase the number of asynchronous handlers. C. Change all service operations to synchronous. D. Disable queue partitioning. Answer. Correct answer, A. Explanation. Enabling message reprocessing with duplicate detection ensures that failed messages are retried without processing the same message more than once. Increasing handlers boosts throughput but doesn't resolve failures. Converting to synchronous introduces latency and may block processing. Disabling queue partitioning affects load balancing but doesn't ensure reliable retries. Question 8. In a modern context of performance tuning, Ahmed wants to improve an application engine program that imports large files using file layout. Which action is most effective in reducing database contention during the import? A. Commit after every single row. B. Use staging tables with bulk inserts before final processing. C. Load data directly into production tables. D. Increase the number of do when actions to split logic. Answer. Correct answer, B. Explanation. Staging tables with bulk inserts allow data to be loaded efficiently with minimal locking followed by control processing into production tables. Committing after each row reduces performance drastically. Directly loading into production tables risks locking and errors. Splitting logic into multiple do when actions does not inherently reduce contention. Question 9. Through careful analysis of a cross-platform integration, Sophie identifies that messages are being rejected due to schema mismatches between sender and receiver. What is the most sustainable long-term solution? A. Implement transformation handlers within integration broker. B. Request the external system to adjust its schema permanently. C. Modify PeopleSoft database schema to match the external system. D. Temporarily hardcode field mappings in PeopleCode. Answer. Correct answer, A. Explanation. Transformation handlers allow on-the-fly mapping and format adjustments within integration broker, supporting flexible and sustainable integration without altering core database structures. Forcing external changes may not be feasible long-term. Changing PeopleSoft schema introduces risk and maintainability issues. Hardcoding field mappings is brittle and error-prone. Question 10. Considering the evidence, an application engine process must selectively skip certain steps based on runtime parameters without altering the main program structure. Which design choice achieves this cleanly? A. Use conditional PeopleCode in the steps action. B. Wrap the step in do when condition. C. Remove the step from the program before execution. D. SQL action that terminates the program when conditions are met. Answer. Correct answer, B. Explanation. Wrapping a step in a do when condition ensures that the step is evaluated at runtime and skipped when criteria are not met, preserving program structure and maintainability. Adding conditional PeopleCode still executes the step container. Removing steps dynamically requires redeployment. Using SQL to terminate execution is abrupt and can cause incomplete processing. Question 11. Throughout the course of testing, Liam notices that his application engine program fails after a commit point but reprocesses the same data upon restart, causing duplicates. What should he change to prevent this? A. Ensure commits occur after all processing in a section. B. Use a unique process instance key for each run. C. Implement checkpoint restarts with properly keyed state records. D. Switch to do while loops for transactional control. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Properly keyed state records allow application engine to resume at the correct point after a failure, preventing duplicate data processing. Committing after or section processing reduces frequency but doesn't guarantee restart integrity. Unique process instance keys don't resolve duplicate logic. Do while loops control logic flow but don't inherently manage restarts. Question 12. A detailed analysis of an integration broker setup reveals excessive CPU usage when handling asynchronous messages. Which approach is most effective to reduce system load without impacting message integrity? A. Batch process messages with deferred handlers. B. Use multi-threaded synchronous processing. C. Increase handler retry intervals. D. Enable message chunking for large payloads. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Deferred handlers allow messages to be queued and processed in batches, reducing real-time load on the system while maintaining integrity. Multi-threaded synchronous processing increases load rather than reducing it. Increasing retry intervals delays recovery, but doesn't lower peak processing load. Chunking is useful for large payloads, but not for general CPU overview. Question 13. By evaluating an application engine program that manipulates time-sensitive data, pre-identifies locking conflicts between parallel instances. What design adjustment helps avoid these conflicts? A. Use separate temporary table instances for each run. B. Disable parallel processing entirely. C. Schedule runs with longer gaps between start times. D. Store all interim results in shared permanent tables. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Assigning distinct temporary table instances prevents parallel processes from locking each other's data, ensuring concurrent execution without contention. Disabling parallel processing avoids the problem but reduces performance. Scheduling runs with gaps is unreliable and inflexible. Storing interim results in permanent tables increases locking risk. Question 14. The fundamental question is, when configuring a PeopleSoft web service, how can a developer ensure only authenticated systems can invoke the service operation? A. Apply digital signatures to outbound messages. B. Configure node authentication and require SSL. C. Store IP restrictions in a PeopleCode function. D. Use transformation handlers for validation. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Node authentication combined with SSL ensures that only trusted, authenticated systems can invoke service operations securely. Digital signatures validate message integrity but not the caller's identity. IP restrictions in PeopleCode are not robust and bypass standard security controls. Transformation handlers adjust message data but don't enforce authentication. Question 15. When presented with an application engine process that needs to stop execution upon a business rule failure but still commit prior work, which design choice is best? A. Trigger an event using PeopleCode. B. Use a controlled exit with on-error set to ignore. C. Implement a conditional branch to skip remaining steps. D. Enable restart disabled and terminate execution. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. A conditional branch allows the program to skip remaining logic while committing prior work, meeting both requirements. Triggering an event rolls back work. Using on-error ignore bypasses error handling but doesn't provide clean flow control. Disabling restart and terminating halts execution abruptly, risking data inconsistencies. Question 16. In contrast to simple integrations, a complex multi-node integration broker setup requires routing the same message to multiple external systems with different formats. What is the most efficient approach? A. Create separate service operations for each format. B. Use a single service operation with multiple routings and transformations. C. Duplicate the message definition for each target system. D. Chain service operations with PeopleCode routing logic. Answer. Correct answer. B. Explanation. Using a single service operation with multiple routings and transformations centralizes logic, reduces maintenance, and supports scalability. Creating separate operations for each target increases redundancy. Duplicating message definitions introduces synchronization issues. Chaining service operations adds complexity and latency without added benefit. Question 17. Taking into account performance requirements, Lucas must import 5 million records via application engine without exhausting rollback segments. Which technique is most effective? A. Commit after a fixed number of rows processed. B. Use doSelect to fetch and process one row at a time. C. Disable commits entirely until the program ends. D. Perform all logic in a single SQL update statement. Answer. Correct answer, A. Explanation. Committing after a controlled batch size limits rollback segment usage while balancing performance. Row by row doSelect causes excessive context switching. Disabling commits risks rollback overflow. A single SQL update can be efficient for some cases, but lacks flexibility for multi-step transformations in large imports. Question 18. The primary reason for using a file handler in Integration Broker instead of a PeopleCode handler is to A. Parse XML into rosettes automatically. B. Write or read message data directly from the file system. C. Transform messages between formats. D. Enforce security constraints on service calls. Answer. Correct answer, B. Explanation. File handlers allow Integration Broker to interact directly with the file system for message input-output. Parsing XML into rosettes is typically handled by XML processors. Transformation between formats is the job of transformation handlers. Security constraints are enforced via node configuration and authentication, not by file handlers. Question 19. In the absence of a dedicated restart table, what method ensures application engine can still resume accurately after an unexpected termination? A. Store checkpoint data in a permanent table. B. Use a temporary table to track completed steps. C. Save progress flags in a file on the application server. D. Pass the last processed key as a runtime parameter on restart. Answer. Correct answer, A. Explanation. A permanent table storing checkpoint data preserves progress information across program failures and restarts. Temporary tables lose data after a crash. Files on the application server are not integrated into application engine's restart logic. Runtime parameters require manual intervention and do not automate recovery. Question 20. The general consensus is that when exposing a synchronous service operation that updates multiple records, you should A. Use minimal locking and allow partial commits. B. Implement full transaction rollback on failure. C. Disable error handling to maximize speed. D. Split the operation into multiple independent calls. Answer. Correct answer, B. Explanation. Full transaction rollback ensures data consistency in synchronous service operations involving multiple updates. Either all succeed or none are applied. Allowing partial commits risks inconsistent data. Disabling error handling compromises integrity. Splitting into independent calls may work in some cases, but breaks atomicity requirements. Question 21. When analyzing a slow-running application engine program, Rachel notices repeated SQL executions that fetch identical rows multiple times. Which approach would best improve performance without changing business logic? A. Store intermediate results in a temporary table and reference it in subsequent steps. B. Use multiple do-while loops to reduce SQL calls. C. Convert all logic to PeopleCode actions. D. Disable commit points to reduce SQL overhead. Answer. Correct answer, A. Explanation. Temporary tables allow caching of intermediate results, eliminating redundant SQL fetches and significantly improving performance. Multiple do-while loops increase iteration overhead without addressing duplicate queries. Converting all logic to PeopleCode does not reduce database access. Disabling commit points affects transaction safety but not redundant SQL execution. Question 22. From a practical standpoint, Miel needs to send time-critical messages to an external system while ensuring no duplication in case of network failures. What is the optimal approach? A. Use asynchronous messaging with guaranteed delivery and unique message IDs. B. Convert all service operations to synchronous. C. Disable retry logic to prevent duplicate processing. D. Implement PeopleCode transformations to detect duplicates post-delivery. Answer. Correct answer, A. Explanation. Asynchronous messaging with guaranteed delivery ensures messages are retried safely while unique identifiers prevent duplicates. Synchronous operations block processing and may cause latency. Disabling retry risks message loss. Post-delivery duplicate detection requires extra logic and doesn't prevent duplicates from impacting external systems. Question 23. Considering the evidence, Prayer designs an app engine program that updates multiple tables in a single step. Some updates depend on prior SQL actions. What is the safest approach for restartability? A. Use checkpoints with properly designed state records capturing dependent step data. B. Execute all updates in one SQL action to simplify rollback. C. Store previous values in temporary variables within PeopleCode. D. Avoid restart logic and run the program from the beginning if failure occurs. Answer. Correct answer, C. Explanation. Capturing dependent data in state records preserves the program's context, ensuring accurate restart after failures. Executing all updates in single SQL action simplifies processing but loses granularity for recovery. Temporary variables in PeopleCode do not persist across commits. Running from the beginning risks duplicate processing and data inconsistencies. Question 24. While evaluating an integration broker interface, Lucas observes that some messages fail due to schema mismatch in target systems. What is the most maintainable solution? A. Use transformation handlers to map fields dynamically at runtime. B. Force external systems to match PeopleSoft schema exactly. C. Hardcode mapping logic in PeopleCode. D. Split messages into multiple smaller messages to bypass validation. Answer. Correct answer, A. Explanation. Transformation handlers provide a maintainable, scalable way to dynamically map fields to target system schemas, minimizing disruption and enabling smooth integration. Forcing external changes may be impossible. Hardcoding logic is brittle and error-prone. Splitting messages doesn't resolve schema mismatch and adds complexity. Question 25. In the context of debugging an application engine program, Amelia finds that multiple steps execute even when conditions are unmet. Which design choice ensures proper conditional execution? A. Wrap steps in do, when or do select actions with precise condition expressions. B. Place conditional PeopleCode inside SQL actions. C. Remove unnecessary steps manually before execution. D. Use state records to skip unwanted steps after execution. Answer. Correct answer, D. Explanation. Conditional step execution ensures that only relevant steps run, preventing unnecessary processing and preserving program structure. Embedding conditions inside SQL actions does not prevent execution of the step container itself. Manual removal is not maintainable. Using state records alone cannot prevent step execution. The conditions must control the flow correctly. Question 26. The central argument for using asynchronous messaging over synchronous in Integration Broker is A. It decouples systems, allowing the sender to continue processing without waiting for a response. B. It guarantees transaction rollback across multiple systems. C. It reduces network overhead by batching multiple messages. D. It ensures message ordering inherently. Answer. Correct answer, B. Explanation. Asynchronous messaging decouples systems, allowing continued processing without blocking, which is critical for scalability. While batching can reduce overhead, it's not inherent to asynchronous design. Message ordering must be configured explicitly and is not guaranteed by default. Transaction rollback across multiple systems requires additional configuration, making decoupling the primary advantage. Question 27. During the process of configuring multiple nodes, Sophie notices that some messages are never delivered. What configuration check would likely resolve the problem? A. Verify that each node is registered active and uses proper authentication. B. Increase asynchronous handler threads. C. Split service operations into smaller messages. D. Disable monitoring to reduce message queue backlog. Answer. Correct answer, A. Explanation. Nodes must be registered, active, and properly authenticated to ensure message routing. Increasing threads may improve throughput but does not fix misconfigured nodes. Splitting messages does not address delivery issues caused by authentication or inactive nodes. Disabling monitoring does not impact delivery and hides errors. Question 20. To illustrate this point, Jackson wants to handle extremely large XML payloads in Integration Broker. Which method balances performance and reliability? A. Use message chunking with transformation handlers for reassembly. B. Increase synchronous timeouts indefinitely. C. Convert XML to flat files before processing. D. Split messages manually and process each independently. Answer. Correct answer. C. Explanation. Chunking with transformation handlers allows large payloads to be managed in smaller units, maintaining reliability and reducing memory strain. Increasing synchronous timeouts delays failure handling. Converting XML to flat files improves throughput but may bypass transactional integrity. Manual splitting adds complexity and error potential. Question 29. With respect to App Engine performance, what is the key distinction between using temporary tables versus state records for intermediate data? A. Temporary tables improve parallel execution and reduce database contention. State records persist across steps without DB overhead. B. State records store large datasets more efficiently than temporary tables. C. Temporary tables are only used for restartable steps. D. State records prevent SQL injection risks inherently. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Temporary tables allow parallel instances to process data independently, reducing contention. State records efficiently store values across steps but are limited in size and do not support parallel isolation. Temporary tables are not limited to restartable steps. State records do not inherently prevent SQL injection. Validation and proper handling are required. Question 30. For a synchronous service operation that updates multiple records, why is full rollback on failure recommended? A. Ensures atomicity so all updates succeed or none apply, maintaining data integrity. B. Reduces system resource usage. C. Speeds up message processing by skipping validation. D. Enables partial commit to allow faster recovery. Answer. Correct answer. A. Explanation. Full rollback ensures atomicity in multi-record updates, preserving database consistency if any operation fails. Partial commits or skipping validation compromise integrity. Reducing system resources is not achieved by rollback. Speeding up processing without rollback risks leaving data in inconsistent states.